The Marlins will head into this season as one of Major League Baseball's most inexperienced teams. I'm going to talk about the youth movement in this episode.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. Go hit me up over on X at Jeremiah Geiger2. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that like button, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. And on today's show, I will be talking about the Miami Marlins youth movement, the pros and the cons to their clear objective of obtaining as many young players as possible, feeding them into the major league team, and building for the future. I'm going to talk about the Marlins fans and the investment that they put into the team. What does that mean in showing up to the ballpark, getting merchandise? I'm going to talk about, finally, a little bit of traders with the Yankees. Garrett Cole is down with an injury, Tommy John, and it's unfortunate. But there's a lot of rumors going around with the Yankees and Sandy Alcantara. I'm going to address those. Let's start by talking about the Marlins youth movement. There's been a clear shift over the last calendar year, really, in which the Marlins have gone to extreme lengths in order to tear down their roster and rebuild and get experience to younger guys. There was a tweet from Marlins play-by-play TV announcer Kyle Seeloff in which he said the current projected 40-man roster has played in 2,868 games. So the Oakland Athletics, who would be the second youngest team in games played, they've played in 5,664. So the Dodgers, he said, the team with the most experience, guess how many games they've played? Give you a second just to think about a number. 16,195 games. So from the top to the bottom, the Marlins are making it very clear. Look, we are getting guys who don't have Major League Baseball experience on the opening day roster, and we're going to give them every opportunity to perform at this level. And that's not just at the opening day roster. You're going to see this trend continue over the rest of the season because guys will get called up. When Robbie Snelling comes up into the rotation at some point this season, he'll never have started a game. That will be his major league debut. You're going to have Adam Mazur also eventually get innings, get some starts. He's only pitched in a handful of games at the major league level. So position players, let's take a look at this. Jesus Sanchez is the Marlins' longest tenured position player. Let that sink in. Jesus Sanchez, who I remember very clearly just a few years ago was a top prospect for Miami. But time flies. And now he's entering his fifth season. Apart from 2020, he played 10 games in 2020. But this will be his fifth season as a contributor to the team. And he's a lock for the lineup. You'll pencil him in right field. And he provides, I guess, that veteran presence. Now, he's only 27 years old, but for the Marlins, that's relatively old. The two oldest position players on the team, Derek Hill, who was acquired as a waiver claim last season. That was his third team in 2024. So he hasn't been with the Marlins for an extended period of time. And Jonah Bride, same deal, was traded for cash, I believe, with the Oakland Athletics. Now they're not even the Oakland Athletics; they're just the Athletics before they moved to Vegas. But anyway, Jonah Bride, first season in the Marlins, he impressed, but this is his second full season to really show what he can do. So, and they're both 29 years old. So the Marlins don't have an old lineup. They have guys who are young, coming off of rookie years, Otto Lopez, rookie season 2024. Xavier Edwards, rookie season 2024. Connor Norby, rookie season. You have in the outfield, let's go left field. If it's Griffin Conine, who's starting to impress in spring training, had a really nice game the other day and is competing for that left field job. Griffin Conine, this will be his rookie year. Got a cup of coffee in the bigs last season at the end of the year. Him and Kyle Stowers both don't have experience at the major league level. Center field, you have Derek Hill, as I mentioned, Dane Myers, who's been here a couple years but hasn't played every single day. So this is their opportunity to play every single day moving forward and show the Marlins, hey, you have something here, or on the negative aspect of it, you don't. I mean, it's as simple as that. I believe in Connor Norby. I believe in Xavier Edwards. And I believe that those guys are going to be here for the next few years, even in the short time I've seen them. I know Xavier Edwards, his profile is a prototypical classic leadoff hitter. He's going to get on base. He's going to hit for a high average. He's going to steal lots of bases. That's going to play. Connor Norby, he has high expectations. The organization has high expectations for him. I think he's the most talented overall hitter that the Marlins have. But again, this will be a big test for him. His first full season where he's going to play, hopefully, barring injury, 140 plus games. He hasn't done that in the majors yet. So there's a big difference between playing, 60, 70 games and then 140 and having to carry the load for an entire season. You're going to see pitchers when they face him get more scouting reports, and attack his weaknesses, and he's going to go through a slump or two. It's all about adjusting, getting out of that slump, fighting through adversity. I say the word adversity because this team will face adversity. This lineup, which is very young, is going to face adversity. It's inevitable. So it's about battling through it, keeping your composure, and having leadership in the clubhouse. Who's going to be that leader that's going to step up among the young guys? Is it a Derek Hill who might say to the rest of his teammates, hey, I've been on multiple teams. I've been around the block when it comes to getting cut, getting DFA'd, getting traded. He's seen a lot. He's been in a lot of organizations, and now he's got an opportunity to potentially play a lot of games for the Marlins in 2025. This is a great opportunity for him, but it's a great opportunity to be a leader as well. Who is going to be the leader that steps up and rallies the guys when you're in a losing streak, or take somebody under their wing when they're in a slump? Because it's baseball. It's a streaky sport. It's a lot like basketball, where your team will be going on a run and you're scoring 10, 12 straight points. You're on a 12-0 run, and then you go cold for the next 5 minutes and nothing's going in the hoop. Sometimes that's the same way with hitting, is you go through a hot streak and then suddenly, for whatever reason, it happens to the best of the best in this sport. You're 2 for your next 20. And you're like, what is going on? And you start to get frustrated. That's where you have to keep your mental side of the game strong. You have to be locked in at all times, especially over a season this long. Baseball is such a long season. So these guys, it's really sink or swim for the Marlins in 2025. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it is going to tell us a lot about the future. I think you're going to look in, the end of next season, beginning of spring training in 2026, and you're going to know a lot more about what the Marlins have moving forward, who's going to be here for the next few years. I think of a guy like Griffin Conine. I think of someone like Kyle Stowers, for example. Those guys have question marks with swing and miss. How are they going to address it? Are they going to adjust at the major league level over a season in which they're expected to get a lot of playing time potentially? So it's going to be a great opportunity and a great learning opportunity for the organization. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about the Marlins investment, the fans, their investment in the team. What does that mean? I had a mailbag question. I wanted to address it. I'm pulling it up right here. That is going to come up right after this ad. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. You will realize that just how much you're going to be spending on food delivery, so you can budget smarter and save more. Or if you're juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set your goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Glad you're with me on Locked On Marlins. If you're an everyday listener, I do appreciate you. And if this is your first time tuning in, thank you. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes moving forward. I got a great mailbag question that I wanted to address. It was off of YouTube from 1Z1R10. So whoever that account is, great question. He asked me, he says, as a fan that tries to go to as many in-person games as I can, it gets a bit upsetting when you see nothing but empty seats and majority of the fans in the park being opposing team fans at times. Will there ever be a scenario in which the fans will decide to show up and show support to the team in person, given the financial situation is good? So that's been the issue for many years at this point, right? It's been the Marlins and attendance, the Marlins fans being seriously invested in the club. Whether they're winning or losing, the Marlins are always at the bottom in attendance. It's a lot like Tampa Bay. It's a lot like the It's a lot like the Athletics, in which the fans just haven't been showing up. And it's funny because in a sports city like Miami, you have a team like the Florida Panthers. You have a team like the Miami Heat, who both have seen some great success recently, especially this century. And I know the Marlins have won 2 World Series in their time, but that was 22 years ago, was the most recent World Series. I was a year old. I was 1 year old when the Marlins won their most recent World Series. So the success for the organization as a whole, it just hasn't been there. They've made 3 playoff appearances in their existence. And that's not including the COVID year. If you want to count the COVID year, make it 4. But the Marlins fans, it's true. And that's a great question, because when will they show up to the ballpark? I think it's a two-way street. I don't think it's all on the fans, and I don't think it's all on the ownership. I think it's both. I think you have to care about baseball, number one, right? The people that care about baseball are always going to show up to the park. They're going to. I mean, there's great fans out there that I've connected with over Marlins Twitter that go to a ton of games, right? You see someone like LMF, loud Marlins fan. Also, say a prayer. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, LMF, as he is in the hospital right now. So, great Marlins fan. He's a friend. I am praying and hoping for your recovery as soon as possible. Want to shout you out right there. but he shows up to as many games as he can. He is a baseball fan. He is a Marlins fan, win or lose. I don't think the Marlins have a ton of fans like that. I don't think the Marlins have a ton of fans who will do whatever it takes to show up to the ballpark and get those season tickets. Now, it's hard to justify getting those season tickets when your team annually seems to be at the bottom of the barrel and every few years embark on a rebuild and they trade away their marketable stars. But even when the Marlins had players like Giancarlo Stanton and Christian Yelich and Jose Fernandez, the ballpark still, it didn't get a ton of attendance. Will they ever maintain a strong crowd, pro Marlins crowd in the coming years, where night in and night out, you're getting a ton of fans? I don't know. I don't think it's really hard to envision that, even if the Marlins break out in 2027 and win 90 games. I think you'll see an increase in interest. But what I do think the Marlins have, they have a lot of fans who are kind of on the fence with the team right now. They want to see this team win consistently and keep players and stop the never-ending turnover before they continue to invest in this team as heavily as they do. The Marlins aren't going to be like the Chicago Cubs or the Dodgers or the Yankees, in which they have a national fan base where people will literally fly from Kansas to New York to go see a Yankees game because they care about the Yankees so much. And then you have somebody from, I don't know, South Carolina do the same thing, or Missouri. That national brand isn't going to exist at the same level as these other powerhouse teams are. It's just not. You can walk around outside wherever you live, and you're not going to see a lot of Marlins merchandise. You're just not. It's not the same level. You ask me, "Oh, what fan are you? What's your MLB team? Who are you a fan of?" "Oh, I'm a Marlins fan." "You're a Marlins fan?" That's how it is. So I think if the ownership for the Marlins ever decides to commit financially to the team and reinvest in this team in the on-field product, signing free agents, making trades, and that's not what I expect right now. It's not what I expect the year after. And the Marlins do start winning based on the homegrown core that they're establishing right now, and also the new acquisitions. I think you will see an increase in this team, in the investment. You're going to see fans start buying players' merchandise. You're going to see an uptick in sales prices. So the ownership has to do their part. They have to reinvest into the on-field product, not just the farm system, because the average fan doesn't pay attention to the farm like people that cover the team and dive into the prospects. They don't necessarily know who these prospects are, and I'm not blaming them for that. When I started off as a 12-year-old kid watching the Marlins, I deeply cared about the players on the team. I couldn't really tell you who the Marlins' top 10 prospects were. The average fan doesn't care about the minor leagues as much as the major leagues. That's how it should be, because you're a Marlins fan. You're not a Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp fan. Now, we know it's important, of course, to build a strong farm. We know it's important. That is how you get these players up into the major leagues. You'll eventually see their names. But when you're in the middle of building your farm system and the on-field product is considerably worse than the teams in your division, the teams in the rest of the National League, and overall the teams in the rest of baseball, the average fan is going to be upset. They're not going to like what they see. They're not going to want to buy Marlins merchandise because from their perspective, the Marlins aren't trying to win. And right now they're right. The Marlins aren't trying to win. They tore it down after a playoff season. I don't know if the Marlins in 2024, if they had made a couple trades or done something to say, you know what, we're putting our chips on the table. We feel like we can compete again under Skip Schumacher. We're going to run it back. Maybe fans would have slowly started to buy in again. I do think the fans will buy in if the Marlins start winning. And of course, the winning will start by the homegrown core. We understand now that this is the process that is inevitably going to happen, whether you agree with it or not. The Marlins are in a rebuild, and they're not going to come out of this rebuild for another couple years. It's just how it is. And when that does, and when they start showing improvement on the field, I think fans will be skeptical. They're going to be hesitant at first. Okay, we've seen the story before. We've seen tantalizing glimpses of success, but maybe the second year and then they win 90 games. And then the third year, they win 90 games. I mean, that's the goal, sustained success for this team. That's what Peter Bendix wants to bring as the president of baseball operations. When you have an owner in Bruce Sherman that's not going to spend, it makes it really challenging. And it makes it very challenging for an organization to keep these players with connections to the rest of the fan base. People loved watching Jazz Chisholm. He got traded. People love watching Sandy Alcantara. He's probably going to get traded. I'm going to talk about him in the next segment. But the bottom line is the ownership has to spend money. They have to try to invest in the on-field product. And when they start winning, they have to keep winning or attempt to keep winning for any hope of the fan base staying consistent and investing more and going to more games and buying more merchandise. It's a two-way street. Coming up next, I am going to talk about Sandy Alcantara. I think there is a potential trade partner that has been floating around the social media in the New York Yankees. They just lost Garrett Cole. But I'm going to tell you why I don't think that's necessarily going to be realistic in the slightest. That's coming up right after this. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. If you love the no-shells variety, it's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days. Whether you're snacking at your desk, on a road trip, or you just need a quick protein boost, they're always a go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein. It provides all 9 essential amino acids, and these little green wonders absolutely pack a protein punch. Grab the no-shells Wonderful Pistachios for that easy access, that grab-and-go ease, or if you like the satisfying crack of opening each shell like snack meditation, grab the in-shell variety. Whether you're running between meetings or you're dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. A reminder, of course, hit me up with any comments or questions. Friday's episode is always going to be a mailbag episode where I get to as many comments, questions as I can. So if you're interested in getting your voice out there, hit me up on X, Jeremiah Geiger 2. Leave a comment in the YouTube channel, and I will get to your comment. And also, if you want to be a guest on Locked On Marlins, hit me up as well. This is a Marlins podcast for the fans, for the Marlins community. I want you guys to feel a part of it. And if you feel comfortable in getting on a show, getting your voice out there, I encourage you to do so. I've had that happen last week with Marlins fan George Aguilera. He said, hey, I'd love to be on the show sometime. I said, let's make it happen. And he got to get his voice out to the public. So the Yankees lose Garrett Cole to Tommy John surgery. And it's unfortunate for them because they're coming off a season in which they not won the World Series, they won the American League, got to the World Series. For all intents and purposes, they're expected to compete again. This was a huge blow. And with the Marlins not trading, but having Sandy Alcantara available and healthy and ready to pitch again, it's inevitable that there were going to be comments and questions concerning a potential trade with the Yankees and the Marlins. I don't think people are realizing just how much it's going to take to acquire Sandy Alcantara. And I put that out on a tweet the other day in response to a potential trade offer for the Yankees to get Sandy. Look, the Marlins aren't going to trade Sandy this season unless they feel that they can't pass up this deal. Any potential trade has to be through the roof for the Marlins in terms of prospect return, in terms of quality of prospects. You're not just going to get him for what you traded away, Jesus Luzardo for or Jake Berger for. I love Max Acosta. I love Starlin Cobb as prospects. But Sandy's not getting traded for those guys. Sandy's getting traded for multiple top 50 prospects in baseball. Like 2 top 50 prospects, maybe another major league piece who's getting blocked right now on a team. And the Yankees right now, their farm system, they just don't have what it takes. There's a couple prospects I really like. I love George Lombard Jr. He's really young. He's been in spring training. He's showing some really good promise. And Yankee fans are like, "Oh, we don't want to trade George Lombard Jr." Well, then you're not going to acquire Sandy Alcantara, number one, because Jason Dominguez, who is probably going to be on the opening day roster for the Yankees, he would have to be included if I'm the Marlins. It would have to be Lombard Jr., Jason Dominguez, somebody like Spencer Jones, who's another of their top prospect, who has a lot of concern. And even then, I don't think you would take him. You would take that trade. I don't think you're going to trade Sandy to the Yankees just to trade him because they're offering a decent prospect package. I've said before, I do think Sandy gets traded earlier than expected, but I don't think it's before opening day, and I don't think it's with the Yankees. They just don't have what it takes to acquire a pitcher of his caliber. Oh, but Jeremiah, he's coming off of Tommy John surgery. Oh, the Marlins have accepted weak prospect packages before. They've made questionable trades. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past, and it doesn't matter that he's come off Tommy John surgery. When he establishes his health, he'll be fine, and his value will be at peak value. It's all about establishing that peak value, which is why the Marlins are going to pitch him opening day. He's going to be the ace of the rotation again. And the first couple months of the season, he's going to show what he brings to the table. And again, a team-friendly contract. He has 2 more years of control and then a club option. So potentially 3 years of control for Sandy Alcantara. Why would you trade him when you don't feel like the prospect package is enough? It wouldn't make sense. So for the Marlins and the Yankees, it's not going to happen. Get it out of your head right now. They're not going to trade Alcantara to the Yankees. The Yankees don't have enough. Potential teams to watch for: Baltimore Orioles, Boston Red Sox, New York Mets, and of course, the Dodgers. The Dodgers are a dark horse team in which they have a good farm. They have some really good prospects. But do they need Sandy? I don't necessarily think so right now. But if an injury or two happens, does anyone expect the Dodgers to just not do anything at the deadline? No. They're going to do something. They always do something. And this year, I feel like the Dodgers have pushed all their chips onto the table. They've signed everybody. Their payroll is through the roof. They can afford it. I mean, it's World Series win or bust. They have to win the World Series this season or it's a failure. If Sandy is somebody they feel like could bolster their rotation, if they have an injury or somebody goes down and is struggling, then they'll absolutely call Peter Bendix and the Marlins. And the good team, the great team is only going to get stronger. Now, that's pure hypothetical, but remember the Dodgers and Sandy Alcantara. The Baltimore Orioles, another team. They feel like a perfect fit. Boston Red Sox. All of a sudden, the Yankees are struggling with injuries. I think their competitive, I guess, window for this season isn't looking as open as it used to be. So are the Red Sox going to say, you know what, let's go out. We already got Bregman. Let's go trade for Sandy Alcantara. Let's make this happen. Let's win the division. Because that's a needle mover right there, getting Sandy. You're going to get calls early on. I would not be surprised if Sandy Alcantara is traded in early June. I would not be surprised at that one bit. I also wouldn't be surprised if they wait until the deadline and there's going to be a bidding war and everybody who is competing and needs that one piece to get them over the hump is going to be calling. But the Marlins are only going to listen on teams and offers who have elite farm systems and who are willing to part ways with their high-end talent, because that's what it's going to take. Because if a team, for example, like the Yankees is calling them, Peter Bendix is going to be, you know what? No, we feel like we can get more. And if a team like the Red Sox is going to say, you know what? We don't feel like we can part ways with Christian Campbell or Roman Anthony, who I think is untouchable. But let's just say Christian Campbell, hey, we're not going to trade him. We're not going to trade Casas. Okay, bye. It doesn't matter. Hang up the phone. You keep Sandy. You keep him pitching for the Marlins. He is your ace until he's not. That's how it is. Right now, Sandy Alcantara is a Miami Marlin. It's not going to change that he is a Miami Marlin until he's not a Miami Marlin. So whether he gets traded this season early, whether he gets traded at the deadline, or whether he gets traded not at all, I can't wait to watch him. As long as he's in a Marlins uniform, he's my favorite Marlin. He's an awesome Marlin. He's always going to have that Cy Young season. He's always going to have a special place in the hearts of Marlins fans. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked on Marlins. I hope you enjoyed the episode, guys. Until then, for the next time, stay safe and let's go fish.